Hey, party people, this is your friendly neighborhood over-caffeinated fashion design and illustration professor Zoe Hong, here to bring you reviews on 12, count 'em 12 fashion books covering design, illustration, art supply, geekery, instruction manuals, pretty picture books, what have you. I got them, and I don't love all of them, to be honest. Yeah, I love all of them. I'm going to tell you my honest opinions. This video is sponsored by a whole lot of nobody. And so these opinions are straight up mine. Nobody bought me any of these books. Some of these books are old. Some of them have been in print for a while. Some of them are brand new. And I know fashion moves really fast, but some information is valid for a good long while. So kind of depends, right? So we're all over the place. Let's start with the two books that I bought in Denver that I mentioned in my epic art haul a few weeks ago. First up is the Watercolor Artist Paper Directory by Ian Sidaway. And this one is legit for watercolorists and people who really geek out on art supplies, like me, ding, 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 and people who are really into working on their watercolor technique and making it beautiful. And this one really deep dives into paper. It goes over cold press, hot press, and rough surface papers. And what it does is it takes a few dozen papers and he lists them. Here's the label. This one is a Bockingford extra rough surface paper, 140 pound, sheet size, etc., etc. He gives these ratings in here: absorbency, wet strength, ease of correction, all these things. And he does these identical painting tests, even with the same color paint, because you know, all these colors, they act slightly differently, right? And so as you can see with all these papers, he's doing the same tests over and over again. He does some alterations in this collage fun thing, but these tests are all identical with the same colors and everything, and he gives the results. And it's really, really great to have that kind of very detailed, like, hey, we're doing these exact same tests on all these papers so you can compare the results. And for me, I have some of these papers. Like, I have the arches in the cold press and the hot press, which he also goes over back here. And so I can read that and have kind of a basis for comparison. You know, when he says it's, you know, like this on the arches and like this on the Fabriano, then I have some sort of basis for comparison. So if you want to use a book like this, you might want to try out a couple of these papers on your own and do similar tests so that when you're reading some of the other tests, it makes more sense to you. Anyway, this is a fantastic book for the watercolorist. This is The Art of Expressive Collage by Crystal Neubauer, and I bought this because so many of you express interest in being better at mood boards and collaging and sketchbooking for your design projects. And so I thought, yeah, let's learn some new techniques and see how I can incorporate them into, you know, fashion mood board work for future tutorials. And I was not disappointed. Look at all these tabs, so that I know to go back to these sections. But honestly, like, if you're into collage, you're into improving your mood boards, this is a great book. It has tons of great examples. You know, the author goes over techniques. She uses a blowtorch here, so, you know, for those of you who are like 10 years old, maybe hold off on that technique. This is Nine Heads. This is a book that several students in my classes have asked me about whether they think it's a good book or not. And okay, the book is called Nine Heads, and I'm assuming it is because of the 9-head system for proportions this person uses for fashion figures. But it's a bit of a misnomer, because the 9 mark hits above the ankle on this figure. And for me, my 10-head figure is top of head to toe. Her proportions are not that different from my proportions. Okay, waist is at 3, 2 is just above the breasts. 4 is just, the crotch is just below the 4. Her thighs are a little longer than mine, whatever, okay? So the vertical proportions are not that dissimilar to mine. I would have to say that my favorite part about this book is chapter 5, the Encyclopedia of Details. Here's a peak lapel, here's a double-breasted notch shawl collar, here's a straight grain collar, here, the diagrams are good. Some of the labeling is a little bit weird, but the original version of this book was written in 2000, so it might just be, updated terminology, what have you. But I find that this section is probably the most instructional. The way the flats are drawn, they're kind of all over the place because I prefer flats where it's really about how the garment is made, and I don't like drapes in flats. I don't, because they're flats. They're supposed to be drawn as if they were flat on a table. So when I see gathers and ruffles and things, I'm assuming that is part of the construction. And if it is part of the construction where when the sleeve hangs down, you see all the gathers, that makes sense to me. That reads accurately to me. But when I see something like this, I don't know what's going on. I hate this kind of flat. So I find that the technical drawings and the diagrams, the vocabulary is the most helpful. The rest of it, I don't care for. When I am looking at a book that focuses on the illustration, I want to respect the illustration. If you follow me on Pinterest, then you know that I love and admire lots of different illustration styles, whether they are straight up fashion illustration or design communication, okay? But I don't like these drawings. I don't know what happened to this head, okay? I don't like any of these. These technical, it's almost like these were done by someone else, but like these drawings are good to me and I like them. But these figure drawings, I don't like them. The proportions are kind of all over the place, which is pretty bad on a book that emphasizes the proportions so much that that's where the title comes from. I was trying to follow the directions on how to draw these skirts, and I got lost. So there's that on the instructions. So I spent $100 on this book back in 2012. If you want to spend $100 on just technical illustrations and vocabulary, that's your money. But yeah, those are the only sections where I can be like, yeah, go for it. This, on the other hand, is a complete gem of a book. Stephen Thomas Miller's Drawing Fashion Accessories. And this is all about footwear and accessories, hats, jewelry, and it goes into drawing different views: side view, top view, 3/4 view, high heel boots, hiking boots, and different angles, rendering shine, rendering different textures, woven fabrics, sequins. It's really great. All the glossary of shoe silhouettes, how to draw hats, fabric textures. Like, all these illustrations are complete amazeballs to me. Here's the thing about this book though, okay? This is not a basics beginner book, okay? This book covers a lot of more advanced. I mean, they're not super advanced, it's not super hard, it's just a little bit more advanced. So if you're someone who started drawing 2 months ago and you're still trying to control your water, that's... That sounded awful. I meant it in a watercolor context. Oh, shit. Sorry. If you just started painting 2 months ago and you're still kind of grappling with water and paint and whatnot, get there first. But this is for the people who have the basics down and are now moving on to, wet on wet technique and dry media techniques and, more advanced techniques. And it does a really fantastic job. Look at these. I mean, I'm looking at books like this. I'm looking at the Nine Heads book. I'm just saying, all right? This is great. The fashion figure drawing stuff is not that great. Okay, the drawing feet and hand sections are pretty good, but the figure drawing stuff is not really this person's forte, I don't think. But perfume bottles, he does have a whole section on drawing heads that I like, and it's obviously so you can draw the hats and the jewelry and whatnot to go with it. But yeah, this one. And, you know, stuff like, you know, rendering crocodile. Just because he renders these woven leathers on shoes doesn't mean you can't take the same techniques and put it on a jacket, right? So if you're interested in learning these techniques, I highly recommend this one. This is Knitwear Design by Carol Brown. Just real quick, the table of contents. We're talking about development of knitting, the industry, research and design, working with color and texture, innovative techniques, and from design to production. And I'm gonna tell you straight up, I love this book. I've read it cover to cover, probably gonna read it again because I probably missed some stuff. It has really great pictures of every single vocabulary word and process step, and diagrams of, you know, different necklines, you know, explaining to you the difference between cut and sew knits and fully fashioned knits, and close-up photos of fully fashioned marks, and different techniques in tarja, jacquard, fair isle, and then bios on great knitwear designers, innovative designers, you know, flats, knit flats. Oh, look at these illustrations, I love them. This is a really fantastic book, and it's eye candy, it's instructional, it's informative, it's inspirational. Just, if you have any interest in knitwear design at all whatsoever, or know someone who does, Knitwear Design by Carol Brown, go get it. These two, you may have seen me talk about these if you follow my Tech Pack series. This is the Complete Guide to Size, Specification, and Technical Design, and this is the Spec Manual. I go into detail of the pros and cons of each of these books more in depth in Tech Pack's video number 3. I'll drop a link to that in the comments or in the description box below. But these are both really great books on, you know, the product development process, speccing out garments, measuring out garments, and figuring out the whole grading process. And they both have their own different approaches and different ways of doing things, but I recommend both of them. I take that back. I recommend that you get one of them. I don't think it's necessary for you to get both of them, but these are both good. I have 2 menswear books for y'all. This is Modern Menswear. This one is eye candy. This one is all, it's organized by designer. So it's a directory of awesome, avant-garde, pushing the creative envelope menswear designers, their basic bios of the designers or the brand, and lots of pictures from their runway shows, from their ad campaigns, from different editorials. And it's just awesome to look at, just really inspirational. And this one is the Fuck Yeah Menswear Bespoke Knowledge for the Crispy Gentleman. And I don't know kind of what category to put this. I think it's supposed to be entertaining. They have these like style archetypes, okay? And they have strange poetry and a lot of hipstery photos, and it goes into the 11 essentials of every man's wardrobe: button down, Levi's, knit tie, sport coat, whatever, right? So I don't know if I agree with their essentials. This section I find annoying, the buyer's guide, where they take one item and they tell you 3 price brackets, wealth, ball, or poor, of where to get these. I just think that if you're gonna do something like this, just do a better job. I mean, there's a huge difference in price between Thom Browne and Uniqlo. There's like 300 designers that fit in a price bracket between these two. And to give just one example from each category, that's not a very well-researched, well-thought-out buyer's guide to me. Yeah, so some of it's entertaining. Yeah. This is a very easy to categorize book. This is a picture book on Thierry Mugler's work, Fashion, Fetish, Fantasy. And this is an unapologetic gorgeous picture book showcasing the best of Thierry Mugler's work. The end. It's just freaking pretty. It doesn't pretend to be anything else. It is a gorgeous coffee table book. It's like, hey, let me remind you, fashion is beautiful, fashion is fun, fashion is flirty. If you have a style, be unapologetic and just run with it. The end. Beautiful. What you gonna do? This is the Sourcebook of Fashion Design, and with a title like the Sourcebook of Fashion Design, what I think is that this book is geared towards designers, and this book is geared towards helping designers with some kind of information. Okay, the Sourcebook of Fashion Design. And I'm kind of, in my own mind, I've kind of broken it up into two sections, okay? So here is the photograph section and here's the illustration section. So in the photograph section, we have a section on fabrics, and here's a little blurb about how important it is to select the right fabric. It's written in 6 different languages. Lovely, okay? And then it goes into a million photos of runway shots mostly, and the only information you find is the designer and their website. There is no information on what fabric they're using and whether or not the author thinks that it was a good idea or a bad idea. Nothing like that. Absolutely nothing. It doesn't say if it's a knit or a woven or a hide. It says whether it's natural or synthetic. Those are really broad strokes, okay? And what if it's a blend? They call it a source book, but I don't know how it can be a source book with so little information. Here's applications and embroidery. Again, no more information than that. And then this section on color and pattern, and it talks about its importance. But again, photos, why are there so many black and white outfits of color? But no discussion on how that color helped push the design, didn't help the design, what color might have been better, what color emphasizes a certain season, like nothing. No discussion at all whatsoever for me to even agree or to disagree. Talking about prints, they don't even mention the technique used so that, you know, people can be like, oh, that's how they did that. Let me research that some more. Like, this can't even be like a springboard for anything. So that was a huge disappointment. And then the section of illustration. So when I am looking at something like the Sourcebook for Fashion Design and there's illustration involved, I'm assuming that we're going to be talking more about design communication. Don't talk to me about technique if you're not going to tell me what the technique is. Not all of this is design communication, so that helps me none. Some of it is. You have these I guess they're supposed to be tutorials, but since there's no text and each step is like, I don't know, they're terrible. Like, the illustration is terrible. There's no instruction. I don't know what plastic techniques means. I would say that the best section is the front, where there's some technical kind of diagrams, black and white line drawings of accessories and garment elements. Baggy pants, pencil skirt with side tuck. That is not any of those things. It's a skirt. So no, I do not recommend this book for much of anything. And because I hate to leave on a negative note, I'm going to share with you one of my favorite books in my fashion book collection that I've had for many years. This is Betty Kirk's Madeleine Vionnet. Straight up, this is a fashion design and illustration obsessed person's just dream come true. This whole book is amazing. Okay, first of all, it has a bio of Vionnet's life, introduction by Issey Miyake. So it has a bio of her life. It has modern photos of her work. Just look at these photographs. They're so pretty. What the hell? So it's a bio and it's eye candy. And you see the back in the day photos of the workshops and her working, the style of the times just as Vionnet was starting to get into work. So you can see how fashion changed from what it was, and then Vionnet came on the scene with her beautiful drapes and corset. What corset? And how she helped shape fashion in general. So you get costume history, and you get these patterns. Listen, okay, disclaimer, I have never tried any of these patterns, but I hear that you can blow these up. Okay, make sure that you are blowing them up to the correct proportions. Follow these instructions. I hear they're pretty self-explanatory. And you can get the Vionnet garments. Please, if you have tried any of these, whether you loved the result or hated the result, please drop me a comment and let me know. I would love to hear from you. But it is bio, eye candy, costume history, draping and pattern making guide, instructional, beautiful fashion illustrations from the time period. This is a great book. All right, y'all. I hope that was helpful for you. Please look in the description box for links to mentioned videos, titles, and author names of all the books that I mentioned. And do give this video a thumbs up if you like book reviews and want more book and product review videos in the future. I'd love to hear from you what your favorite and least favorite fashion books are. I love that kind of stuff. I could do with some more book recommendations. And I will see you in the next video.